Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to May 2021's unboxing for Nail the Mix. We have the wonderful mixing guest, Henrik Oud, coming back on to mix a song by the band Dayseeker with their song Sleeptalk. And I am here with my wonderful co-host, John Maciel. John, how are you, man?
Doing great, man. Super stoked to have Henrik back. It's been like a minute since he's been around,
Yeah.
but Henrik's one of my favorite engineers and mixers, so I am on cloud nine. And I'm also super stoked that it's a song that Daniel Bronstein worked on. If you guys aren't familiar with Daniel Bronstein, he was on in November with Spirit Box. He's been behind a lot of the cool bands coming out lately. So like a Daniel Bronstein produced band with Henrik Oud I'm stoked.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I was thinking about the last time I worked with Henrik. It was like one of the first Nail the Mixes that I got to work on, honestly. It was in that time frame when I started first working with the company, so it was cool to have him back on, and I'm really excited to hear how he's going to approach this mix and see how it differs from when I heard him back in 2016, 2017, whatever year that was. It was crazy. It's crazy how long that's been.
Yeah, awesome.
But anyways, we've got the session up here for Sleep Talk, and let's just go over a little bit of what's going on in each of the sections before we have a listen. Again, you mentioned that this was produced by Dan Bronstein. So this was recorded by him as well, obviously. And here's what we've got going on. We've got all of the drums right here. It sounds like it's a real kit minus the kick drum. I think they probably had some sort of trigger pad that was giving us kick signals, or they just totally didn't record it entirely. That's possible. I used to do that a lot when I was recording, where if the hands weren't necessarily matching the feet, I'd always opt to get a little kick pad, because 9 times out of 10 people want that processed kick sound anyways. And it's just easier to get the recordings done quicker for bands who might have just came in to record that song and they're not fully practiced on it or whatever. Just an option. But it sounds like that might have been what was going on here, because the snare sounded real when I was listening to it. But anyways, we'll move on to the next tracks. We've got a bass DI and a bass amp. Pretty straightforward there. And then guitar DIs and Kemper recordings. So this was done with a Kemper. And it looks like it was quad-tracked in some regard. We've got... I'm not sure what BTM means. Would you know what that means, John?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when it's told to us, it's going to be super obvious. But at this point in time, I have no idea.
Yeah, right. So we've definitely got 4 tracks of guitars here for sure. It could be that same Bronstein technique occasionally, where he'll do the lower octave guitar DI type thing. Maybe that was done here. We'll have a listen eventually. Moving into the lead section and cleans. So a couple lead guitars here, a couple of clean tracks, very straightforward. Looks like they have processing baked in. It was probably, again, through the Kemper with processing printed in directly or recorded directly with pedals or however they did it. Then we move into, some of the production elements. We've got shakers and impacts and risers, the typical stuff that you might add to a common metalcore type production these days. And then moving into a little bit of the keys and the synths, we've got some arpeggios, some pianos. Again, a lot of the elements that seem to be making more of a recent come through in a lot of songs that we've been unboxing here, John. I feel like a lot of people have been taking the same route with the way that they're producing the songs, which I think is awesome. I think that's what this genre needs. And then we have this mountain of vocals. So right here, it looks like these are stem vocals. So these are basically prints of the vocals of all the tracks that are down here. And it's probably a good reason why he sent stems, because this is a little overwhelming to someone who may not be used to this many vocal layers. So it was probably in... the producer, in Daniel or even Henrik, printed these down to say, hey, if you don't want to try and mix, 40 some vocal tracks, we got you covered here with the individual stem prints of my processing going on, or their processing going on the vocal. So rather straightforward there. We're going to listen to the stem versions just because that's a little bit easier to listen to now. But obviously we have all these raw vocals here, which we can also, unpack towards the end here. But let's just have a listen from the top. You ready, John?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
The blood stains on my hands, a 3-year one-night stand. Love is bitter when it's spent. Lying next to me in bed, say your name under my breath. It's toxic, the same dance. Our feet firm in quicksand. Love is bitter when I see how much I can make you bleed till you feel like you're deceased. It's every night I drink and drive. Anything to help me let go, let go. You feel the pain, I feel the same. But we cannot repeat this cycle. The ice is yet to come. The ice is yet to come. No, please don't be alarmed. We tend to fall apart. I'm entirely to blame. No, I couldn't keep you safe. If there's trust, I won't betray. Sunset, sunrise, it's better. You're not mine. I had everything to lose. Always find a way to prove that I'm undeserving of you. Into the night, I drink and drive. Anything to help me let go, let go. You feel the pain, I feel the same. But we cannot repeat this cycle. The ice is yet to come. The ice is yet to come. I play the victim like it's tradition. Now I can see that I should have left you alone. The ice is yet to come. One day you'll say if it's I am just a disease. The worst is yet to come. 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 Now I can see that I should have left you alone. The worst is yet to come.
Nice.
Man, that track is super fun, but I got chills towards the back end of that first chorus
yeah.
when everything comes in. That vocal arrangement, like Daniel, tops. Like
Damn Daniel.
damn Daniel, can you chill?
Yeah.
That was what a
love
great arrangement and canvas for you guys to like mix to. Like they're always great, but this is extremely fun and catchy. And it has elements from it pulls from everything too. Like I really enjoyed that track. And there was like crazy deep synth track that you soloed. And I was just like, what is that sound that like when it hits, it's just like it sounds like a barbarian hitting the track. It's like massive.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that this is definitely it's going to be a fun challenge, but it's going to be a challenge because there's a lot of things like sub bass. This is common in different genres, but it's been people are trying to introduce it more into this genre. I feel like in the last 5 or so years, but like something like this, stereo sub content is tricky to blend in with the wall of guitars that you're trying to
But
make.
it's so nice.
It's amazing. It's
so
fucking
nice.
awesome, and it fills it in perfectly when you nail it. And I'm excited to see how Henrik goes about that. But yeah, looking at the drums, I mentioned earlier, like I'm pretty sure these are real drums. If we listen to everything but the kick, it's definitely a real snare. But then the kick, definitely.
So probably,
programmed, but it could.
Yeah, probably one of those like no kick was recorded, or they just took it out of the session completely and just focused on like the hands.
Right. Or they did record the kick, but when sending it to Henrik to mix, maybe Daniel was like, you know what, I don't want to send that, and that's common. Or the opposite, maybe they did send it to Henrik, and Henrik didn't want to use it, and instead just sent this to us to use. So, it could go many different ways with, with file transfer and everything. You don't have to always use the files that are sent.
Exactly.
Especially in the real world like that. Like I'm sure there was at least talk of a real kick being recorded, but
can we also just acknowledge how nicely organized this session
very clean
is? Like,
yeah,
very clean looking session. It makes my heart feel warm inside when I see everything like ends at the same spot. The fades on the ends and the beginnings of all the performance areas are exactly the same, so it's very uniform, so easy to manage. And when you go to use like what's it in Pro Tools when you clean out all the audio, strip silence, it's so much easier to clean those regions so that it's not eating up processing in the background. But I just wanted to acknowledge like how like really tidy this session looks.
Yeah, it's super clean, and everything's labeled perfectly. Like, I mean, besides not knowing what BTM means on the Kemper, like if we solo one of these and then relate it to this one. So it just sounds like a different tone. It definitely sounds like a quad tracking. Two different tones were recorded here, two different tones recorded here, and the blend of these is going to make what Henrik decided, or if Daniel decided to record these, the blend that's going to happen here. That's fairly common. I don't really quad track much. John, do you quad track much?
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get that deep into that world.
It's hard, man. It's hard for me to. I've never experienced quad tracking personally in a way that I found was better than just doing left and right guitars and trying to get them as wide as possible. But
yeah, I mean, there's an art to it, and
totally.
Like whenever we have sessions like this, I'm always curious, like how did you arrange those guitars? Because like we've had the Architects month, we've had like the Meshuggah month. There's other months that we've had on Nail the Mix where they do the quads, and it really comes down to like what is the tonal character of an amp that they're choosing. So like one might be more mid-range sounding and the other one might be more of like the low mid, and then you blend those two together. For me myself, I'm usually of the mind like I have such a hard time blending that I'm just gonna commit to one tone and just like call it a day.
Yeah, or you and I might, instead of quad tracking, we might explore different IRs or something. And use that as a blending option, which we do all the time on our community shows that we do, and with actually dialing tones and everything. But yeah, I think that's probably where my head heads whenever I'm trying to blend different tones is more on the cab side than just creating a whole new tone in and of itself. But yeah, plus it's also 4 different performances, which it's interesting. It's just one of those things that I've never really dabbled in, but I'm really excited to see how Henrik is going to manage all of this, because one thing that I really remember from his Nail the Mix back then was the guitar processing that he did for the Architect stuff. That stuff stuck with me, so I'm excited to see how he's going to work on this. But yeah, like every other Nail the Mix, there is a mix competition that's going to go along with this, where you have a chance to mix these tracks yourself, submit it for a chance to win an awesome prize package. John, do you want to go over some of the sponsors that are part of the May's 2021 prize package?
Yeah, so if you guys participate in the mix poll, you'll have a chance at walking away from a really cool prize package consisting of prizes from Dial Tune, KEG Audio, Sonics, Neural DSP, Submission Audio, Master, Grin Digital, Oldham Audio, Joey Sturgis Tones, Drumforge, and URM Academy. Once again, like, just super stacked, a lot of cool, useful tools for your engineering journey.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm stoked to hear your guys' mixes, and I'm really stoked to see how Henrik mixed this. And I believe Daniel might be joining in for the Q&A too, so I know I'm excited to hear some behind the scenes stuff on how he arranged some of like the cool electronic elements,
Totally.
the producing aspect. When he was on his Nail the Mix, it was really cool for him to explain like his thought process in the production side of things, and I know a lot of students enjoyed that as well. So a lot of cool stuff in A. Yeah. So yeah, guys, good luck to you if you guys decide to hit the link below to sign up, and we'll see you in the Private Producers Club later.
See ya.